Okay, can we just play the chains, please? Man, this is going to be a long week. Alright, GG. This was rough. Hey guys, it's Kusi. Welcome back to episode 5 of this Zero to Hero, in which we attempt to get from no gear at all to all 8 portals completed in just 3 weeks, apparently. In the last episode, we finished up week 2, gotten a semi-cool item from the vault, got our first 2 crafted items, and made an overall solid progress on both gear and score, as we ended on an item level of 510 and a dungeon rating of 2231, which means in this episode we sound the horn to charge right towards the Covenant plus 10 key level. Release! Plus 10 keys. After we had to do multiple keys to increase score. And while some of them went really clean, as one could say they were looped up with excitement.
What do you mean by that?
Some others didn't. So how about you like the video for me putting in the work doing over 20 keys per week just because I'm addicted? And hey, consider subscribing, it's free and we all do love free stuff. Ain't that right?
Yes.
I appreciate you all for real. So without any further ado, make sure to grab a drink, get comfy and enjoy episode 5, the first part of the finale. Alright, so as I mentioned, I was legit certain we arranged everything necessary to go straight into plus 10 keys with the thought behind to fail horribly. Turns out, people didn't like me.
That sucks.
I applied for a hot minute even though there weren't as many keys as I hoped to be, so in order to not play Q Simulator on stream for hours, we decided to boost the score slightly, as there were many dungeons I only did on plus 2 or 4 on Tyrannical. Speaking of Tyrannical, for the first time this series, let's talk about the full range of affixes for this week. Besides that mentioned boss enhancement pill, we also got Incorporeal, which is totally a DPS affix and no healer should worry about that whatsoever. Or the healer has to CC both with Mind Control and Shackle, cause no one gives the slightest shit about them. The third affix is Spiteful. This one makes little nasty ghost spawn that will try to hunt your ass down, and for some weird freaky kink of Ian, they also target healers. Healers are
bad dudes.
Okay.
They're pretty black. We're gonna kill them.
Got it.
as we don't have to deal with enough stuff already. Yet for the first few dungeons they won't apply, as those are the level 10 affix. And to be honest, the higher I gotten in keys, the easier the incorporeal spawns got handled. Sometimes I couldn't even attempt to mind control because they just got trapped so damn quickly. Oh, and one thing to mention before we get into the first keys, I will try to keep them short, as we all know we want to see the plus 10 attempts instead. So we start with the Zoo Vault, which besides the stomp on the first boss, which could go horribly wrong, it's only the last boss that worries me a lot. I came to realize that healing the ticking damage from the hardened crystal is somewhat I cannot do for long, as it's just so much. And you know it's bad when the tooltip is lying, cause it says it ticks every 5.2 seconds, while all healers can attest to this, it ticks more like 5.2 times per second. Disregarding, we got what we came for. Plus 11 rating. So cool. And even though I really tried to apply for a lot of plus 10 keys while focusing on a Zoo Vault again, as I just got used to it, it wasn't meant to be yet. So we gotten ourselves into an Eltorus plus 8, which is also good. Another dungeon I really gotten to enjoy on Tyrannical, as I'd like to believe that the bosses are quite fast paced in general, and the trash is way too much for it to be enjoyable and fortified. If you do prefer fortified Eltorus, seek help. But boy did this key go wonky. We started off strong with a wipe to trash, as some rock elementals got turned into lava and gave it to us caliente, fuego style.
That's gotta be racist, there's no way.
And just look how excited I was as I saw that our tank had both silencers already. Cool! Yet speaking of fuego, latest segue EU West, turns out when the burning elephant is charging your way, standing still ain't the play. But as usual, I just blame my chat here, as Jabs was sending out 5 gifted subs, and I feel like just saying thank you ain't enough, so I tried to talk, which turns into mumbling, which then turns into dirt napping. Thank you for the support though, Jabs. You're also fuego, man. We continued to farm 16 deaths overall towards Chainmaster XX, which left only one question. Can we coexist in order to dispatch of the guy that only has one mechanic to play? And despite all expectations, we got it down without any deaths. The chains got played carefully and smooth, which is something we cannot say about the Forge boss, as our tank just gave me the fuck right into my face when pulling extra trash on my fragile disc priest body. Luckily, your boy was meaning business today. Damn. This boss in general felt very stressful to heal when I started out, but at this point I gotten to use my cooldowns proper. I simply tried to have Mindbender ready for the Forge smashing, while also overhealing the Aegis with its dot, totally not difficult in my book. Yet ultimately, because of all the deaths we racked up throughout the run, it's a depleter. And because Blizzard is funny like that, we got spoiled. Get it? We did also get 21 rating, which is cool and all, and after not being able to heal the first boss of Ruby 8, as mainly I played like absolute ass and could not handle the juice, we gotten into a knock 8 instead for a spicy increase of 35 rating. However, we returned to Ruby on +9 now, and even though we failed yet again on the first boss, even though this time it wasn't technically my fault alone, because I dirted on the final boss, we didn't time it ultimately, which is a damn shame if you ask me. Don't get me wrong, a lot of mishaps went down this key that contributed to the depletion, but ultimately I messed up on the final boss on the final pull, which meant we wiped on 5%. I take the blame for that for sure. This made me lose all my confidence, but before I tell you what I did in order to get it back, here's a word of this white boy. Do I really need to say this? Okay. Ohio Onichan, please consider subscribing to this channel as... Bro, what the hell is this crap? Look man, we are on the road to 10k subscribers on this channel in the year of 2024, so if you watch this far, consider smashing the like button, as kids say these days, and also power-pack the subscribe button, as this really helps this hopeless WoW enjoyer to reach heights to tell my mother I told you so. Also, if you manage to get to that goal by the end of the year, we will have a 24-hour stream alongside an unpixelated facecam and some kinky stuff. That's what I'm talking about! Thank you for giving me your trust. Now back to the video. So in order to feel good about myself again, how about a dungeon that is by far the easiest dungeon this expansion? A double, baby. I feel so good now.
What do you mean by that?
You know what? I think I'm ready for a 10.
Stop the cap!
Yeah, I don't know if this one went worse than expected or actually exactly as expected. For some reason, we just simply did not play the chains right. Every pull we managed to get 3 stacks, which is so confusing to me, considering we do have a hunter that can just freely chill in range and wait till it's his turn. I don't think the chains itself do damage, or at least it doesn't feel like it, so whenever you have the chains, stay calm. If you want to use the defensive, use it before the chains get applied, as there's some serious initial damage. Took us 3 wipes to understand that this one is a goner. I was so ready for my first +10 key to be the race against the clock. Turns out, it was just a race against our own stupidity. Rough. But I reckon we need to farm some confidence once again in the lower key, which was absolutely not what happened next. You see, this druid here was arguably the biggest piece of shit we met so far in this series. What an arrogant wank. But here's what happened. Even though we got 2 druids, 1 priest, a rogue and an evoker, we lack CC for incorporeal. The only 2 that did use CC for those are the boomkin and myself. But a few dungeons ago, I swapped away from having both shackle and mind control in order to skill more defensive for myself, which is exactly what I learned to regret here. This bear had the absolute balls to call out everyone, but mainly the evoker for not using any CC, which on one side is not incorrect to do. I mean, it's everybody's job to keep those ghosts controlled, but that also applies for the tank. And this comes from experience. You can absolutely use the druid sleep while in bear form. I've been there, I've done that. So having the audacity to shit-talk others that do exactly the same amount of CC as yourself, meaning nothing, is beyond me. I don't know what an attitude like this just gets me rallied, but it's mind-blowing. Life lesson, kids. Do not make pointing your finger your signature move. Be better. Look at what you could have done to possibly prevent this from happening. That's what I did. So I spec'd back into Shackle again to have 2 possible CCs. Lesson learned. And with that very lesson learned, we moved on to the next +10 key. 2 CCs at hand, about 30% confidence and roughly 69% fear.
Quick math!
As we will attempt our first 10 Azure Vault. Yeah, remember that one? The one I easily struggled the most with when I started the series? What poetry would it be if this one would be the one to start the portal run? So I focused up. I zoned out everything that just happened and only looked straight ahead. Mental W gaming, kinda. Oh shit, we got ghosts? Now coming up to the first boss, there's one specific sequence of spells that is very important for us. After he's doing the frontal on the tank, he will mark everybody with explosive brand very quickly, and from there we have about 6 seconds to get everybody to full HP before he hits the stun. That's the crucial window for us. So what I did is, I marked everyone with single atonement applies via renew or shield, used mindbender around to time the explosion triggers, and then we went from radiance into mind blast into penance, and that should do it. If any specific target is still low, use an external on him. There's also a dot on the tank that you may or may not have to be mindful about, and depending on the class that can hurt. Demon Hunter and Warrior occasionally struggle with that. And this even got pretty close towards the end as we had the incorporeal cast go through, but boy did we get lucky. I mean, We did lose one, but the cast got through pretty much when everybody was top. I could have saved the lock with my trinket, but I kinda panicked a lot when seeing the healing reduction cast go through. Now a zoo blade is more or less how I envisioned my first +10 will go, getting carried while on my back. Even in our 10th series already, we dirt napping like day 1. I actually thought I was out of that swirly, but then watching the replay, I can see why the game would think I was in. Healers are
Bad dudes.
Okay.
They're pretty black. We're gonna kill them.
Got it.
but you just have to pretend you didn't do anything wrong like an Addon. They did manage to get the boss down with all of them surviving, which is actually funny considering they just clenched up and didn't take any damage. But I got worried for this boss a little bit. I wish my party would just do the final boss without me as well. Unfortunately, not so much. This boss is like a freshly opened bottle of ketchup. When you try to pour it, nothing happens. But then all of a sudden the shards spawn and you got half the bottle on your burger.
What?
Okay, kinda weird comparison, but you get what I mean. You just do nothing all the time and then all of a sudden everything happens. Legit, nothing happens here unless it's called hardened crystal. And I was talking to myself throughout the entire fight. The main focus was to prep everything with renew, so during the crystal phase I do have mindbender rolling and 2 panic radiance casts to offer. I also try to use a defensive spell on myself every time just to make sure I get through. And boy was I sweating. The timing couldn't be worse on the first shard phase too. As first I had to move because of the balls.
Man, shut your bitch ass up.
And then a knockback came around. And then our tank felt the mighty paw to instantly get spooned. Do dragons have paws?
No?
Second shard phase was even more stressful. And then we also got 2 debuffs from the incorps. Boy, what the hell is going on here?
I don't know, Jeff.
One more shard phase, make it or break it. I was so happy that this, out of all keys, was our first +10. This party was so clean. They used defensive, did off healing. I love it, man. Yet I spectated the damage done after it, and I saw that I even did more damage to the hard crystal than our warlock. Get carried, kid. And even though this was the end of the stream, this ain't the end of the video. So even if it was days later, I was still rocking the semi from that key and I was ready.
Why are you gay?
So let's do WHAAAT, baby. Props again to this party. Another prot paladin which I didn't see that many of during the process of gearing, and he once again decided to play it safe instead of trying something he watched those NDI losers do. Normal pulls, controlled pulls, and I also love how spiteful is not a factor here as he just got so much room to run around. Didn't stop me from getting hit though, what a noob. And while the first boss is just pressing the ballista, using a radiance every 20 seconds ish, and browsing Riley Reed's Insta account, the second boss forced me to play with both hands again. I even got insanely overwhelmed by the first electrical storm, as for some reason I didn't expect it to hurt like that. Granted, it was a horrible idea to use Mind Pegger just for damage purposes early. I even had 35% healing increased, and while the fight with the boss went on, my mouse also was just fighting me. I got a few mouse buttons I'm using and it looks like it just keeps turning on and off regularly. Very annoying. The second storm went a lot better until I forgot to reapply Atonement, which is actually insane considering I did like 50 keys so far. But with the thunder breathing fart down and us not dying once, I was confident in this run. Third boss has one specific mechanic we need to prep as everything else is just RNG and avoiding. The Gale Arrow is just played so easy when everybody, including the tank, just stacks up. Having Mindbender up for that window is crucial as it hurts and you want to get the party up as quick as possible as the archer chick is just randomly shooting people throughout this fight. Also a cool moment to use barrier as this is a very rare moment to have everybody in one place. But as clean and collected this boss works, the last boss, specifically the ad phase, was our last hurdle towards the second portal. During the first phase you can just chill and do damage as it's just tank and spank. Once the ads get unlocked though, oh boy oh boy. In the second phase, the most important thing for us is dodging lightning and prepping a lot of quick healing whenever the crackling upheaval turns up. This stuff slaps, so have Mindbender ready for this one. 2 portals in the back, and since I never felt this horny, relieved, aroused and confused before, I decided to join an RLP 10. Today we bust out the myth of Ruby Unalive Pool. Keep in mind, the last 2 times we were here, we bricked the +8 key and then messed up a +9. So needless to say, I was trying to hype myself up for at least the first boss. Whenever I get targeted by Chillstorm, I got mad issues to keep people alive as I have to move and heal. When somebody else is getting it, I can easily prep it, but that's okay. Glad I only got hit once though. The next moment of truth is Frost Overload, as it just hurts. So in this fight, the incorp ghosts were so helpful, they caused big damage done reduction overall on the boss, which I appreciate. And we eventually finally killed the Oprah of Whelpings. Last week I also said that I'm happy that those elementals don't hurt as much during Tyrannical. Yeah, pause. They do. And I figured out a mechanic that is so insanely ass. You know how fear can break whenever the target is taking damage, yeah?
Yes.
And you know that those spiteful ghosts do take damage by themselves over time, right? So apparently that damage will also break the fear. Cool design. I cannot wait for this crap affix to be gone. Yet overall this run went a lot smoother than I personally expected from myself, and with the amount of self-heal of the tank, the second boss was a breeze. So the last boss remains, which could get horrible. Our tank even decided to just stay in the middle, even though it's just a bit more clustered to tank it between the pillars. Disregarding, we timed this one too, leading to a whoopin' mythic plus score of 2462 and 3 out of 8 Polo Stun. I felt unstoppable at this point.